Welcome back to the Capital Storyline. Tonight's report marks a turning point, one that the House of Windsor delayed for years but can no longer avoid. On February 5th, royal sources confirmed what had been quietly unfolding behind palace walls for weeks. Princess Anne has formally demanded an immediate halt to all commercial use of Princess Lilibet's image, likeness, and identity. This is not a suggestion, it is not a warning, it is a constitutional intervention. The decision traces back to a closed-door emergency summit at Buckingham Palace on January 23, 2026, chaired by Princess Anne herself. Present in that room were King Charles III, Prince William, Duchess Sophie, senior Crown legal advisors, and representatives from the UK Department for Children and Families. What triggered this extraordinary meeting was not press pressure, not public outrage, but internal legal alarms, filed quietly by Prince Harry's UK counsel, flagging escalating concerns about the welfare, exposure, and treatment of two Windsor children living in California. Less than 24 hours later, on January 24th, Clarence House released one of the most emotionally charged statements of King Charles's reign. The language was deliberate, measured, and unmistakably severe. The royal household expresses grave concern regarding the physical, emotional, and educational welfare of Master Archie and Lady Lilibet. Any attempt to commodify, divide, or exploit the siblings for financial or image-based purposes is expressly condemned and stands in direct opposition to royal ethical and constitutional standards. For palace watchers, this was a red line being drawn in ink, not whispers. According to senior aides, the statement followed a 3-hour crisis session that concluded with what insiders describe as the most sweeping child protection directive issued by the monarchy in over 2 decades. The concern was no longer abstract. Internal palace documentation reviewed during the meeting portrayed a deeply unsettling picture. Archie, age 7, increasingly absent, withdrawn, and invisible, while Lilibet, just 5 turning 6, had become a visible and recurring presence in branded content, promotional material, and commercial planning. What alarmed the palace was not exposure alone, but imbalance. Sources confirm that while Meghan Markle's re-entry into public life through her lifestyle brand was already controversial, it was Archie's absence, paired with Lilibet's repeated appearances, that triggered a formal internal inquiry. According to sworn materials submitted by Prince Harry on January 19th, his daughter was being managed not simply as a child, but as a minor commercial asset. The filing alleges structured filming schedules, brand rehearsals, limited unsupervised playtime, and routine preparation for digital exposure. By the time the Buckingham Palace meeting concluded, more than 10 separate commercial arrangements involving Lilibet, spanning fashion, skincare, scripted video content, and educational merchandise, were under review. As one senior royal aide put it bluntly, "This is no longer a family disagreement. It has entered the realm of psychological risk, reputational danger, and international legal exposure." Within days, the palace moved with unusual speed. January 24th, Clarence House issues an emergency public statement. January 25th, legal representatives acting on behalf of Prince William dispatched cease and pause letters to associated commercial partners, ordering a temporary freeze on any unvetted content involving Lilibet. January 27th, Princess Anne formally requests Prince Harry submit a royal child protection briefing outlining safeguards for both children within the U.S. January 28th, Meghan Markle is served a royal conduct inquiry letter demanding justification for Lilibet's removal from her accredited school and rejection of psychological oversight. January 31st, under the rarely invoked Royal Descendants Clause, Clarence House files an official request through UK health liaisons seeking full wellness and psychological assessments for both children. While Lilibet's visibility dominated headlines, palace concern increasingly centered on the silence surrounding Archie. Once a symbol of the Sussexes' early public life, Archie had not appeared in any official family imagery public or private, for over 14 months. During a January 29th strategy session at Kensington Palace, Duchess Sophie reportedly delivered an emotional address that shifted the tone of the room. "The absence of Archie is a silence that screams. We must ensure he is not emotionally orphaned while his parents remain in public conflict." According to internal notes, reports suggested Archie had developed a fear of cameras, displayed emotional withdrawal, and reacted anxiously to filming equipment inside the home. Prince Harry's own accounts describe his son becoming visibly distressed during any environment resembling production or branding activity. For the monarchy, this presented an unprecedented dilemma. Never before had it been forced to consider protective oversight of royal children residing abroad, entangled in a commercial ecosystem that blurred the line between family life and brand architecture. Prince Harry, by blood, remains a prince of the United Kingdom. Meghan Markle, by citizenship and career, operates within American entertainment in entrepreneurial frameworks. But on January 24th, Clarence House made one reality unmistakably clear: the emotional safety of Windsor children is not negotiable. Within palace walls, one phrase was repeated again and again: "This is not about control. This is about protection." And for the first time since the Sussexes' departure in 2020, the Crown was no longer watching from a distance. It was stepping in.
On January 28, 2026, just days after Clarence House's emergency statement, Meghan Markle's camp issued a public rebuttal via a virtual press appearance. The setting was deliberate: neutral tones, controlled optics, a calm, composed presence. Her message was firm. Lilibet, Meghan insisted, was not being exploited. She was being empowered. "She has gifts," Meghan said, "and I will not apologize for cultivating them." She dismissed the palace's concerns as outdated and regressive, arguing that modern childhood could coexist with visibility, creativity, and entrepreneurship. She framed her parenting approach as protective, progressive, and aligned with a new generation that refuses to shrink children's potential. But behind the polished language, cracks quickly appeared. When asked directly whether Lilibet was spending more than 15 hours per week engaged in branded or structured content creation, Meghan paused. Then she replied, "She's not working, she's creating. There's a difference." For the palace, there was no difference at all. Within days, Princess Anne's advisory team finalized an internal dossier known quietly as the Lilibet logs. What it revealed shifted concern into alarm. According to the compiled schedule, Lilibet's weekly routine included Monday and Wednesday filming short-form branded content, Thursday voice coaching for potential audiobook narration, Friday Mommy and Me product shoots for upcoming wellness campaigns, Saturday and Sunday brand-related activities including live-streamed interactions, toy demonstrations, and private virtual meet and greets. Legal documentation submitted by Prince Harry's attorneys showed that between October 1st and December 31st, 2025, Lilibet had logged over 190 hours of recorded production activity, equivalent to more than 6 full adult work weeks. Inside the palace, the reaction was immediate. During a closed-door meeting on January 30th, Prince William reportedly delivered one of his most forceful remarks to date. "She's 6 years old and already more exhausted than most working adults. This is not childhood. This is extraction." That statement, according to multiple sources, marked the moment when palace concern became moral resolve. Former contractors associated with Meghan's brand, speaking anonymously, provided further testimony. Several described emotionally distressing filming environments. One alleged that Lilibet cried quietly for more than 15 minutes after forgetting scripted lines and was told she needed to build resilience. Another recounted an incident in which Meghan, frustrated by delays, raised her voice during a shoot, saying, "If you want to build something in this world, you have to show up every time, no exceptions." Meghan's team dismissed these claims as exaggerated and misrepresented, but the psychological implications had already reached the palace's threshold for action. In her January 28th remarks, Meghan rooted her defense in her own upbringing. She spoke about feeling overlooked, Under-resourced and sidelined in her youth, she described Lilibet as her chance to do things differently to ensure her daughter was never voiceless. But within royal circles, that framing raised serious concerns. As one senior aide put it, "You do not heal your own past by drafting your child into a future she didn't choose." The situation escalated further with Lilibet's removal from Brentwood Academy in December 2025. On December 10th, the school issued a formal absence report citing unexplained withdrawals, stalled social development markers, and concern over emotional regulation. They recommended psychological oversight if homeschooling continued. Princess Anne's office followed up on January 28th, demanding written clarification from Meghan regarding Lilibet's educational plan, the credentials of homeschooling supervisors, reasons for rejecting psychological support previously offered by the school's Child Wellness Board. As of this recording, no formal response has been submitted. While Lilibet's overexposure dominated internal reviews, Archie's disappearance from view deepened palace unease. School records from a Los Angeles institution, name withheld, indicated sporadic attendance and increasing emotional withdrawal. Prince Harry's confidential notes describe his son as anxious around cameras and resistant to any filming presence. During a January 29th session, Duchess Sophie reportedly said, "The child is not fading physically, he is fading emotionally." That contrast, one child overused, the other erased, became symbolic within royal analysis, not just of a fractured marriage, but of a parenting model driven by optics rather than equilibrium. At this point, the palace shifted from reaction to structure. On February 1st, 2026, Princess Anne formally launched the Royal Child Preservation Council, an internal task force unlike anything seen since the late 1990s. The council includes senior royal legal advisors, independent pediatric psychologists, UK Department of Children and Families representatives, and a transatlantic custody and citizenship specialist. Its mandate is clear: child-first intervention, free of branding, publicity, or political consideration. Its charter states the goal plainly: to preserve the emotional stability, private development, and identity autonomy of royal descendants living abroad under conditions of image pressure or commercial exploitation. Behind the scenes, contingency planning accelerated. Drafts were prepared outlining potential cooperation with U.S. child welfare agencies, educational monitoring requests, and diplomatic pathways should voluntary compliance fail. King Charles, though publicly silent, was deeply engaged. According to multiple insiders, he requested weekly updates on both legal and psychological developments. He reviewed reports submitted anonymously from educational and wellness professionals. One concern weighed heavily: the use of royal symbolism in commercial branding. Sources confirm that should unauthorized use continue, crests, language implying royal lineage, visual motifs associated with the crown, the palace is prepared to issue a formal revocation notice, severing any right to royal visual identifiers in commercial products. It would not affect bloodline, but it would send a message heard worldwide: lineage does not equal license. As Princess Anne reportedly said during an internal briefing, "We must protect children not from ambition, but from premature purpose." And with that, the situation entered its most dangerous phase, because what began as a dispute over parenting had now become a confrontation over identity itself.
And by early February 2026, what had once been a private family fracture had transformed into the most sensitive royal confrontation since the Diana era. Not over titles, not over money, but over childhood itself. On January 2, 2026, Prince Harry made a decision that stunned both legal observers and palace insiders. Without prior consent from Meghan Markle, he filed an official custody petition in the Los Angeles Superior Court seeking full legal and physical custody of both Archie and Lilibet. For a senior royal living outside the United Kingdom, this was unprecedented. The filing rejected any framework that would permanently separate the siblings. In one of the most striking lines of the petition, Harry wrote, "The emotional bifurcation of siblings is not compromise, It is institutionalized trauma. Just days later, on January 6th, Meghan's legal team responded with a countermotion proposing a split custody arrangement. Under her proposal, Archie would spend most of the year in the UK with Harry, while Lilibet would remain full-time in California. The justification was revealing. Her attorneys argued that Lilibet had established educational, therapeutic, and career infrastructures that could not be replicated abroad. Inside palace circles, that phrasing triggered immediate alarm. One question echoed through multiple internal meetings. What career infrastructure does a 6-year-old require? For Princess Anne and Prince William, the filing confirmed what they already feared, that commercial considerations were now being wrapped in parental language. Additional weight came from sealed testimony included in Harry's petition. A third-party child psychologist retained by his legal team conducted confidential video sessions with Lilibet in late December. While the child's statements carried no legal authority, their emotional clarity reportedly shook everyone who read them. According to a family source, one line halted discussion entirely. "I want to go where I don't have to smile all the time. I want to be with Archie." That sentence, insiders say, reframed the entire conflict. It was no longer about narrative control. It was about a child rejecting performance as identity. Pressure mounted from multiple directions. Brentwood Academy's earlier warning letter, citing absenteeism, developmental concerns, and emotional regulation issues, was formally entered into court records. Around the same time, California Child and Family Services received an anonymous report alleging excessive media involvement and an atypical daily structure for a minor. No formal case was opened, but monitoring intensified. Publicly, both parents went quiet. Privately, tensions escalated. Prince Harry appeared visibly worn at a January 19th charity event. According to attendees, he spoke little, avoided questions, and referenced his children repeatedly, never Meghan. Meanwhile, Meghan entered what insiders describe as counter-offensive mode. Joint appearances were blocked. Harry was excluded from upcoming philanthropic promotions. Strategic divergence, her team called it. At this point, the palace activated a different kind of response. Not legal, not institutional, but human. Behind the scenes, Catherine, Princess of Wales, began building what aides referred to as the Windsor Reset, a discreet, off-camera reconciliation summit. The proposal was simple and radical. Harry, Meghan, William, Anne. No staff, no press, no recording. Only one objective: the well-being of Archie and Lilibet. The summit was scheduled for February 9th to 11th with a secure wing reserved at Windsor Castle. A confidentiality agreement was drafted. An independent child psychologist would be on standby. Harry agreed almost immediately. Meghan did not respond. But Catherine made one final attempt. On January 29th, Catherine sent Meghan a handwritten letter. Its contents were never released publicly, but palace aides confirmed its tone: non-accusatory, maternal, deeply personal. One verified excerpt read, "Whatever divides us, I believe we both want them to feel loved before they feel watched." Catherine's involvement carried strategic weight. Within the monarchy, she remains the most trusted public figure, less polarizing, deeply human, and closely associated with protective motherhood. Her message was clear: this is not about power, this is about protection. As the summit date approached, palace contingency planning accelerated under a framework internally known as Operation Veil. Two paths were prepared. Path A, Meghan participates, the summit succeeds, a unified, non-specific public statement is released affirming shared commitment to child welfare. Path B, Meghan refuses or escalates, The palace publicly clarifies that any commercial use of Lilibet's image or royal symbolism is unauthorized. Full institutional support is extended to Harry's custody petition. A carefully structured interview led by Catherine and Princess Anne reclaims the ethical narrative without personal attack. Legal teams consulted on image rights, minor branding law, and diplomatic recourse through the British consulate in Los Angeles. By February 1, 2026, the Royal Child Preservation Council had convened its second emergency session. Motions were advanced to bar unauthorized commercial use of Lilibet's likeness, request joint psychological evaluations for both children, and establish permanent ethics protocols for royal descendants living abroad. This was no longer just about two children. As one palace staffer put it, this will define whether future royal children are human beings or brand extensions. King Charles, still publicly restrained, became increasingly engaged. He requested weekly briefings, reviewed psychological summaries, and approved preparatory diplomatic pathways should cooperation fail. One concern loomed large: legacy. According to multiple advisors, the king believes mishandling this situation could undo decades of progress in public trust following Diana's death. His position was firm. The image of a Windsor child must never become a marketplace tool. As of February 5, 2026, Meghan had not confirmed attendance at the Windsor summit. Her advisors were reportedly split, one faction urging cooperation and maternal reframing, another pushing for escalation through media or documentary exposure. But the clock was running out. Regardless of outcome, one truth had crystallized within palace walls. This was not about crowns, not about brands, not even about parental victory. It was about whether two children would grow up free from performance, free from expectation, and free to define themselves before the world defined them. As King Charles enters his second year on the throne, it will not be pageantry or politics that define his reign, but what he chooses to protect when the cameras are gone. And according to those closest to the crown, the choice has already been made. The crown is watching, the line has been drawn, and childhood will not be negotiated.